Hey there, have a seat. What can I get you? I'm serving up Thursday's Untamed Special, where I will cover one of my favorite variations, supplemental lifts, accessory work, assistance movement, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to explain how to do it, why we do it, some common errors, and even a suggestion about how to incorporate it into your current routine. Today's special: the pin press is something I've never done until I started working with my coach, Austin. I am currently training for a United States strength lifting meet, which tests your squat, press, and deadlift. So, if you've been following my YouTube channel or my Instagram for the past couple of months, you've seen a lot of pressing. I'm pressing every training day, 4 days per week, usually 2 different pressing movements each day. The pin press allows you to train different ranges of motion by setting the pins at different heights. There are a few reasons why the pin press is such a helpful variation. Before I cover them, I'm going to say the same thing I say in each of these Untamed Special videos. If you're just starting out, you don't need to worry about incorporating these into your routine. Pressing alone will help improve your press. Benching will also increase your pressing strength. Now, these variations can be used by intermediates and on. Why we pin press? Reason number 1. It allows you to target specific ranges of motion, really any range of motion: shoulders, chin, eyes, or forehead. Figure out where your press struggles and start incorporating pin presses from that range of motion. Reason number 2, it allows you to overload the movement. Your pin press at forehead height will probably be heavier than your normal press. This works the same way as the rack pull and the deadlift. Shorter range of motion usually allows you to handle heavier weights or more reps with a given weight. Reason number 3, the pin press can be helpful in forcing you to remain strict at the start. If you watch my normal press without pins, I utilize a small stretch reflex by letting the barbell float above my collarbones at the start, and while keeping my knees locked out and my abs tight, I quickly pop my hips forward, and this helps propel the barbell upward. This style of press is allowed in the United States strength lifting meet, so I practice it. You'll have to wait for my new How to Press video to learn more about it. When I place the pins at shoulder height, I can't use my hips. I can't use any stretch reflex, and it makes the movement more difficult because it's so strict. The weight is pressed from a dead stop, and there is no elastic energy helping me press the weight. Now, I predict some sort of question in the comment section that goes something like this: why not just pin press at shoulder height all the time? Or, why not just remain strict without the pins? Why do you need to cheat by using your hips to press a bit more weight? Using my hips during the press is allowed in my competition, so I'm going to do it. It takes coordination and timing to do it right, so I practice in the gym. Now, for what it's worth, I actually pin press and strict press more frequently than I perform my competition press with hips. I'm often asked if push presses will help increase your press. They can be used as an overload movement too, right? Here's my answer. If you enjoy push presses, you can incorporate them into your routine.
Do whatever the f you want to do.
If you're a competitive weightlifter or strongman, you should incorporate push presses into your routine because it requires a level of skill, so you should practice it. But for an average guy or gal just trying to train Untamed, I would not suggest push presses as an overload variation for the press because you're using your legs during the push press at the start. Pin presses require you to press with your upper body throughout the entire movement. I'm not saying that your shoulders don't do anything at the start of a push press, but I am saying your legs do nearly all of the work at the start. Last year, I could only strict press about 195 pounds for one rep, but I could push press 315 pounds because my legs were pretty strong and my technique was pretty good. Pin pressing is also way more specific and transferable to the press than push pressing is. Another small reason is because the rack position changes. For the press, I support the weight in my hands and the barbell floats above my collarbones. I'm not saying that it has to, I'm just saying that it does for me. Now when I push press, my hands don't support the weight, my torso does. This is just another reason why the push press is not as specific to the press as you might think. I like using a fairly wide stance for my presses and pin presses. I feel more stable. Make sure the middle of your foot is directly underneath the barbell. You will find out quickly if you started too far back or too far forward. Once your feet are in place, flex your quads, glutes, and abs, and push your hips under the barbell. Make sure your elbows are in front of the barbell at the start. Press. Try to control the barbell back down and land in the exact same spot each time. An uncontrolled drop from the top will force you to adjust your feet after each rep, throwing off your rhythm. Alright, this last tip is important, so pay attention. Pin presses, like pin squats and rack pulls, can be deceptively hard. It takes a brief second of pushing before the weight actually lifts off the pins. When I first started doing these, I pressed rep number 1 and thought, that was really hard. Rep number 2, that was equally as hard. Rep number 3, still hard. And before I knew it, I finished with a set of 5 reps, all of them equally as hard. And I've since learned to not be so afraid of straining during pin presses. Maintain your composure and keep pressing. The amount of pressing versus bench pressing you should do depends on you and your goals. If you want to increase your press, you should press more often than you bench. This applies to strongman competitors, weightlifters, crossfitters, etc. If you're training for a powerlifting meet, you should be bench pressing more often than you're pressing. Because this video is about pressing, let's emphasize the press. Like I said in the last Untamed Special, this is a general recommendation. I wouldn't suggest pressing 4 days per week right off the bat if you are currently not pressing at all. And if you're currently pressing 4 days a week, making a general recommendation like you should press twice per week is not going to help you. I'm trying to say that I have no idea what you are currently doing, which is important information to know before making program recommendations. But anyway, shut up, Alan. Give us the program. Following the same routine in the previous Untamed Specials, Monday, squat and press. Tuesday, rack pull. And for your upper body, pull-ups. Maybe even dumbbell bench press, depending on how much volume you can handle. Thursday, pause squat, bench press. Friday, deadlift, pin press at shoulder height. After a couple of weeks, raise the pins to chin height. After a couple more weeks, forehead height. For the 3-day routine, on Monday, squat, press, rack pull. Wednesday, pause squat, bench press. And on Friday, deadlift, pin press, and your second squat variation if you're squatting 3 days per week. That's it. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and always remember, tread on time.